Hi everybody, Russ and My Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. As always, we'd like to thank our channel sponsors, Untuck It. Check it out in the description below. If you fancy buying your old man or yourself some nice shirts or whatever, check them out. Lots of Black Friday deals come up soon. Today's guest, he's been differing with his 11, so it's gonna be quite interesting. It's Mark Segal. Hi Mark, how are you?
Hi Russ, yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. As I said, it's a bit different, and it's something a bit different to do.
Yeah, it takes your mind off things, doesn't it? And
Exactly.
International break. No one's really watching the England.
Yeah. I don't think I've watched 1 minute of any of the England games this
really?
break. Yeah, I really don't have any. I don't know, any sort of inkling when it comes to English. It's really weird. And I'm such a hypocrite because as soon as like the Euros will be on, I'll watch every game. Down the pub. We wish, God, can you imagine that'd be good? But when it comes to like the sort of the Nations League and stuff like that, or the friendlies, I really don't care. The only thing I'm bothered about, I literally will see, okay, Deck's playing. No, he's not injured. Okay, it's all right.
Exactly. Don't get injured. That's it.
Don't do an Ashton.
Most important thing. Yeah.
God, dude, that's it. We've said it now, isn't it? God. Yeah. Him and Suchek have both scored, I've seen today.
I have, yeah. Which is good.
Good odds on that, isn't it? Good odds on that. Yeah, great for the confidence. And Haller's been scoring as well. Which is great. So roll on, Sheffield United. Yeah. Can't wait. Can't wait for
last
that.
Words.
God, that game of attrition. If we thought Fulham was going to be bad, I think Sheffield United game is going to be even worse. But who knows, man? Who knows? As I said, it's nice that I can't remember a time before we've played badly and won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We always play badly and lose, or play well and we lose.
Play well and lose. Yeah.
And to like play badly and lose, it was like, and then we still moan about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's never perfect, is it?
No, it's always something. It's like that Lanzini. I saw about it the other day. That Lanzini goal against Spurs. It was like, amazing. Literally in the next breath on Twitter. And we shouldn't have been 3-0 down after 50 minutes. So just enjoy it.
It's only a point. We only got a point.
Someone the other day was like, I think it might have been Sam Delaney when we had him on. We was like talking, and he was like the typical way. We was talking about, Fulham, our season starts. He went, we've done well, haven't we, recently? He goes, yeah, we have, but don't forget we haven't won the last 3 games.
Yeah.
But that's what being a West Ham fan's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that Tottenham game and that goal, you celebrate that as much as you celebrate a 5-0 win, don't you? It was such a moment, and during lockdown, it's been so rubbish, and just missing going to football to have that was really good. And our living room was up, when that goal went in.
Yeah, I had the mother-in-law running in, thought I'd turn my ankle. Good luck any of them trying to pick me up. Do you know what I mean? If I had, but it's a shame, isn't it? Because we've had like that game. We had obviously the Chelsea game last season.
One, yeah.
And it's a shame that there's no fact. But there was talk today, wasn't there? Light at the end of the tunnel.
We'll
see. I mean, I was talking to someone today about it, and he was like, "Well, surely, like, it's going to be less financially beneficial to have like a small number of fans, because surely you're going to need more security and COVID stewards and wardens and stuff." And so you're actually, and I was like, I don't give a shit because we don't pay for it. So
exactly.
one each. Exactly. Who's laughing now? But
I mean, that said as well, there's been plenty of games that I've watched that I'm glad I hadn't been at. So Newcastle being the prime example, you're glad you didn't have to slog all the way over there and see that. So
it's one of those things where someone said, it's like supporting West Ham over the last sort of few years has been like a chore. It's a chore they wouldn't mind doing again. And I know what you mean. It's like when you jet wash the patio. It's a chore. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it, but then you start doing it. You go, oh, what else can I jet wash? You get back into the screw thing. But no, it's all good. And how have you been, Mark, during lockdown 1.0 and 2.0?
Yeah, it's been all right. It's been easier since the kids went back to school. First time round was pretty tough going. I'm still working, which is the and we're healthy. I think I came down with something that I think was COVID right at the very start, and it seemed to go within a week. So touch wood and all that, we're all okay.
Good. That's the main thing, isn't it? If you got,
Yeah,
you're still working and you got your health. That's
exactly.
all we can hope for at the moment, isn't it? I still think I had it over Christmas last year.
Yeah.
I
They're
still think
saying
I
it
had
was in the country earlier than we think it was. So absolutely, yeah, every
because
chance.
it was COVID's first anniversary, wasn't it? Like yesterday or something like that. It was like the year since the first report of COVID.
Yeah, I must
And
have missed the party.
I know, God. It was the banners, you had to
Yeah.
clap and everything. Yeah, I know. But no, it's I'm pretty sure I had it, and I'm pretty because like literally all my family had it within like I had it, and then a day later my wife was then ill, and it was like all over Christmas. So it was like horrible, awful. But hey ho, we'll see what happens. And
yep.
I mean, at least West Ham keep us occupied, don't they?
Well,
Mark?
exactly. Now the football's back on, I think I've gone to a few games in just the Essex Senior League as well, taking my son to that. So that's been really nice just to go to a few games, and hopefully that'll start again after lockdown.
Yeah,
so
no, exactly. Yeah,
nice,
exactly.
Just have a pint and watch a bit of football is it's really nice.
Yeah, it's like I remember like lockdown 1.0, and I was like our local. I live in Hornchurch, and a local sort of Hyams Park, it's called. I can't remember what it's called. But they have like cricket. They have cricket on the Saturday, and they had this little bar, and it wasn't like a bar. It was like literally like a shack, and the guy's got like one like pint puller of Fosters, and you're sitting there watching like two like pub teams playing each other. I was like, this is brilliant. You
take it, don't you? Exactly.
Drinking
absolutely
Fosters.
take it.
Like, oh god, yeah. But you take anything you can get. I think people have adjusted quite well to the sort of like, a lot of people, for example, have been going to football West Ham for years and years and years, and the last sort of dozen games they've had to watch them on telly. And I think people have sort of done all right. I've been invited to Zoom parties and obviously YouTube people. Yeah, I think they've, I think people had to. Lucky we had technology. If we hadn't had technology, if this was like 20 years ago, it would have been absolutely a car crash, wouldn't it? No Netflix.
You wouldn't know what was going on. No.
If your phone, you would have Twitter. You would have you'd be playing on your Nokia, playing Snake. You have a really good Snake score by the end there. Really good Snake score. Oh god, yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. It's just like teaching my mother-in-law my daughter taught her how to do FaceTime and WhatsApp and things like that. Otherwise,
it's the pain of lockdown one. That was early doors. Didn't do Zoom and Skype with the parents and things. Yeah.
Oh dear. Although we had some good ones. There was my daughter's 8, and a few people were turning. It was their birthdays, and so we had like the Zoom parties, but like, like the entertainers, like proper entertainers, were like hosting it, and they were really good. Like sort of doing scavenger hunts around the house. And I talk about it stories. It's so funny because literally you had to do a scavenger hunt, and you had to find like a scarf and a spoon and a leaf, and then you had to find a DVD. And firstly, my daughter went, "What's that?" And I was like, and in the panic, I don't think I've got a DVD in the house.
Wow.
She went, "What's that?" I said, "Well, it's like you had to explain it. Before Netflix, you put it in, and you had like, and I found a CD. I don't know where I found a CD from. Get it back to front. So luckily, you didn't ask what it was on. But it's absolutely.
We're way behind you. We've still got loads of DVDs knocking about. So if you ever need any,
if you ever need any, no. And it was I think my mother-in-law got my daughter a telly for Christmas, and that was the first thing she said it needed. It needed a DVD player, and I was like, I don't think the little float bothered about. Has it got Netflix? Has it got Sky? Can I have a Sky Q box as well? Oh my god! All right, okay, all right, but it's got YouTube. But no, it's funny how things change so quickly. You think DVDs is like, oh wow, you used to love it. I remember, you'd have them stacked, wouldn't you? Stats on the shelf. Yeah, oh bless. Anyway, we reminisce as we always do these things. But it's very on the football, Mark. Do you listen to it with the crowd noise on or the crowd noise off?
On. I didn't think I'd like it, but actually they do it pretty well. I think they've toned it down a bit since it first started, and I think it's more background noise now than it was when they first started and it was full on.
Yeah.
But when I remember when the Bundesliga first started back, because I think that was the first main one back, and I had it on BT Sport, and I was watching it, and you thought it was just a training game. Yeah. And I know that's what reality is in the ground. It is just a training game, but when you're watching it on TV, it's good to have some noise. And it's quite funny when they get the sound slightly wrong, when there's it goes wide, but they celebrate, they put on the goal music or whatever.
It is I know what you mean. But I was talking to a guy who works for Sky, and he apparently it's done through Opta.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And it's done through AI, apparently.
Oh, right.
Based
Okay.
on the Optus stat. Because I thought it was some poor
Mm.
intern with a soundboard with,
Pushing a button.
yeah, blue flag, yeah, up your ass, yeah, the Chelsea, yeah, but no, it wasn't. It's all done, but which makes it even more
Very clever.
worrying when we were like 3-0 up against Norwich at halftime last season, and they booed them off the pitch.
Yeah.
The robots.
Well, we were away, weren't we? So yeah,
you're away, exactly. Yeah. The robots have turned.
Yeah.
Hasn't got a chance, but yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. No, I was really, really impressed. But it's even when I'm at the ground now, it's like it's so quiet that you
I can imagine.
you hear the journos typing, and it's just really weird. You can hear the moose eating as well, joking. But yeah, it's literally typing. So I have to put like one of the YouTube watch-alongs or something in the background. Because I can't. Because even when there's 60,000, you can't really hear anything. It's like a soundproof box.
Sure.
But when it's noisy, because I can feel it on the steel floor, it vibrates. That's what I miss. It's really sad, but I miss my feet being like.
It's just the things that you've grown used to over the years that just not there anymore. It's so we've lots of things. So it's been hard, but hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. I to be honest, I would write this season off. In terms of fans, because I think it's going to make a difference. Like even with the fans back, it's not a level playing field from the beginning of the season. Do you know what I mean? Because I just think it's gonna. But they won't. But because it's money and coming in. But,
exactly.
It's what it is, man. Anyway, first, a second question. Have we done a question? That's good. Second question. 11 minutes in. That's quite good for me today. Is why are you a West Ham fan, Mark?
It's my dad.
Yeah.
So my dad was born in Forest Gate, East Ham. Lived, his early lives there. I dabbled with other teams up until about the age of 9 or 10, and I don't know why. It was before 85, 86. It's probably like a season or two before that. So it wasn't even because we were really good. It was just, I don't know why. My brother then started going. My older brother then started going with his mates, and I think I realised it was the only way I was ever gonna go and see a game live was to support West Ham. So that's kind of no romanticism really. It was just practical that I want to go and see a football game and my brother's going to take me. So my dad was happy though because he was West Ham all his life, and he used to love when we used to drive to Upton Park. I'm sure loads of people have had it. He was the old man pointing out, that was my first house, that was the shop I went to, that was my old school as we drove around. And as more and more one-way systems got put into East Ham, he used to moan because you can't go down that road anymore and you can't park on that road. And so that's lots of happy memories.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice, isn't it, when you sort of can do that with your 3-year-old man as well, like relive his sort of childhood and stuff, and then pass it on, and and that's the thing. It's like that's what I think about West Ham. That's why I think West Ham fans are so unique, because it really is a family thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I mean, as you said, you dabbled, you tried other clubs on, but it just didn't quite fit right, did it?
Up until I was 9. My rule that I've made up in later life was you can up till 10, you can dabble. But after that, that's my rule that I made up and I'm sticking to.
When you hit double figures, that's it. You've got
exactly. My kids had no choice; they were West Ham from the start.
My daughter had no chance. Her due date was the playoff final against Blackpool, and I had a really good ticket. So I was at Wembley, of course. And then 3 days later, she came and I've got a picture of her in the playoff trophy.
Oh right!
I knew it was going to be at the Romford store. Went in, asked Eddie to go on for There we go. That's it. You're scarred now, love. That's it for the rest of your life. No, but she's got back into it. I think with like the I think she likes to put the shirt on because she saw I used to put the shirts on.
Yeah.
And she's like, Daddy, West Ham. I said, yeah. And then she sort of faded away. But obviously the resurgence of the women's game. She's really got into it. We've been to Rush Green a few times. It's brilliant. She loves it. I love it as well because it feels a bit like you said when you go to the Essex senior games. It's proper football, and it was like when they're at Rush Green. Because I don't. For 20 years I've been in a box at Upton Park.
Yeah.
I can't. There's no release. So
And you want to go to a game. You want to go to a game and there's no pressure on you. Like, you just enjoy the game. Yeah.
Now you got to press the goal music, and you got to, now it's all changed. You got to press the goal music. You got to make sure you got sort of like you got to press it, and then obviously the first time we did it was that Chelsea game, and then obviously the first goal was disallowed by Thomas Souček. So it was like the first time I pressed it wasn't a goal. It was like, well, that fucked it all up, isn't it? Yeah. I was so adamant I wasn't going to do it, and it just ended up being a right shitter. But yeah, I became like a proper yob. Like I literally sat on there shouting at the light. My wife's like, Russ, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But that was so offside, It's like, you can't, know what you're doing, linesman. But yeah, no, it's good. And,
it's funny because when I was, I took my eldest to West Ham. I got him a season ticket when we moved to Stratford, and he after a couple of seasons he just doesn't fancy it for whatever reason. But I used to say to him, you can say things at football that you won't hear elsewhere, and you'll hear swearing, but don't worry about it. And he was fine with that. I started taking. He loves going to the non-league. It's him that's driving me to non-league, so he loves going to those games. And it's not actually the fans. Then it's the players on the pitch and the managers.
Yeah.
And they're just swearing their heads up. We went to Averley last season, and Keith Rowland's the manager there now.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So I said to myself, it's Keith Rowland. He used to play for West Ham, and we stood behind the dugout for like the first 10 minutes. Keith Rowland did not stop swearing for the first 10 minutes. Absolute fuck this shit out your breath. You're all this.
Yeah.
I had to move my son away. Give him away to the other side of the ground. So yeah.
I remember my brother's mate. We took him to the game at Upton Park years ago, and it was obviously the first time he was properly allowed to swear.
Yeah.
And he's hearing everything. He's getting involved, and then the crowd goes completely quiet just as he starts swearing, like, and like the whole crowd just stopped.
It looks.
Just go, oh, bless him, must have been 10. But yeah, no, that's why I sometimes when I'm watching the away games, I like to listen to it without the crowd noise, because it's nice to hear, because it's quite funny just hearing. I'm a little boy sometimes, a little kid, hearing people swear on like But apparently it's really good actually, because like the floor manager and the people I work with at West Ham, they obviously sit sort of around the dugout area. They're in the red zone, so they can do.
Yep.
And they say literally they should do, how you have like player cam?
Yeah.
They should do bench cam on, like, apparently Kevin Nolan is hilarious on bench cam, and Snoddy is absolutely hilarious, and just like the banter and stuff. And yeah, I'd love to hear them, but you can imagine them having a right old
absolutely.
And that's what I like about our team at the moment. They seem to be a bit nastier. Do you know what I mean? They're quite with guys with the Snoddies, and obviously Alan Irvine and Moisey and Piercy and Nolan. I just think we're not.
I think we're streetwise. I think streetwise is a good way of putting it.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, they're not just going to roll over because a bigger team come along, and I think there's a bit of grit there and whatever. And as much as people say that West Ham, it's the West Ham way, and people like us playing on the floor and all that, and actually, in plenty of players in my team, they get a foot in as well. People used to love that sort of thing, didn't you? You get the crowd up by getting in a hard tackle and whatever, and I think there's a bit of that in our team at the moment, and I think that's really good to have. I mean, Souček looks that sort of player, and Declan as well, and Cresswell can put his foot in. It's useful to have those players.
It is, and I think it's a shame, because obviously the team are playing well, and typically there's no one there, and so as soon as fans get, we're gonna like it's gonna be the West Ham way. But I know what you mean. It's we just seem a bit more, streetwise. That's the best way to describe it. I would say nasty, but no, it's streetwise. So like, I was watching some highlights of that promotional season, and watching the role Kevin Nolan played, and like particularly the corners, and go back and look at our corners. Look at our corners now, and that's what Antonio does. He's smaller and just slower center of gravity, and just more of a muscle. But it just it's good. I like it. I like the fact that we've got a bit of grit about us now, and we've got a team that seems to want to put a shift in.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I just got to give Moyes the props. I think Moyes is. I know there was a lot of we shouldn't get him back in, but he's done it. He's last time he did the job he was meant to do.
Yeah.
This time he did the job and kept us up, and he's building something. I've always say this at the moment. I remember when a player goes to a new club, they always go, "Oh, I've joined the project. It's a project. It's not. It's the 250 grand. But, you know what I mean. But you can see foundations being built. You can
Yeah,
see the right
I'm not.
play.
I'm
Like
not
you
his.
mentioned.
I'm not his biggest fan. I
No,
mean, I'll
yeah,
hold my hand up, and
yeah,
you know, we got him this time round because it felt the
yeah,
easy thing to do. But
yeah,
you know, you can't take it away from him. The way we're playing at the moment is good, and he's getting the results. And you know, our run. You look at who we played; it was bloody awful, and he's
yeah,
got some points out of it, and we've done really well. I just feel sometimes in those bigger games he's a bit safe,
yeah,
and actually
yeah,
sometimes in the smaller games he's a bit too safe as well. And
yeah,
sometimes if we're going to step up to the next level, which is what everyone talks about, you kind of actually, if we're on top against Arsenal, for example, you want to actually go for it a little bit.
yeah,
If you're on top against Man City, just push on a bit more.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it feels like, I don't know if that's how he plays it, or just players are naturally, a bit more defensive when we're winning against those teams, or we're on top against those teams. But
Yeah.
just feels we just can't quite step up to that next level, and go toe to toe with those teams.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's almost like we're so rigid in the way we're set up to play that, I mean, even that Tottenham game, we talk about it, he didn't make a change till, like, and we're 3-0 down. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's
Yeah.
still,
Come on, mate.
some might say it's stubborn, some might say it's confidence, some might say it's stubbornness, but I know what you mean. It's like you'd want, so like that Fulham game, we really everyone wanted to see the shackles off, didn't they?
Yeah,
And it's sort of like, to be fair, Fulham came and did a West Ham on us.
yeah,
They came and basically, like we did, like chase the ball, run us down, keep them on the counter attack. Lucky that their counter attack wasn't very good.
yeah,
Sheffield United is going to be exactly the same. I think they're going to,
yeah.
they're tough. They're not the quickest game breaking forward, but
No,
they're going to grind. It's going to be a grind, this game, and I don't
yep,
think. But we've got the people who, as I said, you put, they're the type. It's the type of game, as you said, for people who want to put a foot in, and
yep, yep.
Deck and
But
Such together.
again, yeah, that sort of game where we're expected to be on the front foot.
Yeah,
I wonder whether we're set up for that at the moment.
true.
We're very good on the counter attack, and some of those bigger games we played, Liverpool and Man City. We were good breaking
Yeah,
against Sheffield United. I didn't see the Fulham game. I didn't pay my £15, so I can't say. But Sheffield United, you think they'll probably sit back a little bit more and expect us to come onto them, and can we break them down? We'll see.
we'll
We'll
see.
see.
And that's the thing, we don't know, do we? With West Ham, you don't
Exactly,
know, so you have to
exactly.
watch every game because you don't know. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, let's talk about your 11 because you alluded to it.
Oh yeah.
Right. So the only rule is that you have to be alive to have seen them play. That's the only rule.
Okay.
So right, reason we put that in is so not everyone, otherwise everyone's 11 would be
Yeah.
Bobby Moore.
Bobby Moore.
I
Yeah.
never saw Bobby. I never saw Trevor Brooking. I never saw Billy Bonds play. So they were in my team. I had Gary Breen and
Yeah.
people like that. I had the joys of players like that. But that's the only rule. So
Okay.
we'll start off in goal, Mark. Who
Okay.
is in goal before you
So
change your
so
mind again?
yeah. So my team is I spoke to Dan Silva, who I know's
Yes.
been on, and I chatted to him about how he looked at it, and I tried to kind of focus it on maybe a time of my life when I
Yeah.
started going regularly around sort of late 80s, and I was a regular sort of most of the 90s as well. So most of my team focuses around that period,
Brilliant.
but there's one or two that clearly weren't, and just have been in because So that's So anyway, so my goalkeeper's Shaka.
Oh yes.
Um, so there's a couple of reasons. One, I found it quite hard to find a good goalkeeper for West, someone that really stood out. I think we've had a lot of above average goalkeepers, but no
Yep.
one really stood out for me. I mean, I was once asked. I used to be a journalist, and I was once asked by When Saturday Comes magazine to name some great games that Ludo Miklosko had. They were doing a feature on Ludo,
Yeah.
and I couldn't really remember him ever standing out. He was good and solid, but I couldn't remember him having a standout game. So
Mm.
so I went for Shaq. The reason I went for Shaq is, well, there's a few things. One, he was kind of in that era, and he was great, and he seemed to have a lot of confidence and to give confidence to the back four.
Yeah.
Shaq started his career in England at Reading, and I was at university in Reading, along with Dan actually, in the early 90s, and I worked on the student newspaper. and it's my first kind of foray into journalism. I
Yeah.
kind of was the sports editor because I was the only one writing sport. And I went over to the Reading training ground, which at the time was literally like a shack in the park. And Shaka was their keeper. And back in those days, literally you could phone them up and say, "Can I come and interview some of your players?" And they were like, "Yeah, do what you want." So
Yeah.
I went over and I chatted to Mark McGee was the manager at the time, and I chatted to a few of their players. And Shaka was one of the players that I interviewed. And I went to. There was a season when Reading they just got promoted from division. Well, what was it then? 3 to 2 or 2, whatever it was called.
Sure.
So they were in the second tier, and I went to watch them every home game that season to report on them for the student newspaper. And he was the keeper, and they got to the playoff final that year.
Yeah.
And they were great that year, and it just always stuck with me. That I really kind of got an affinity to that team. So when he signed for West Ham, it was like, oh great, Shaka, and actually he did a decent job for us.
Yeah, he did.
So that's why I've gone for him again. No real standout games probably, but just it's just someone I really used to really like watching.
And don't forget, I know we're not doing the sort of the sort of the late the 2000s in this sort of era, but he came FA Cup final.
Yeah,
he came back for that. You know what I mean? He was. We've had him on the channel. He's a dude. I love him. I always remember Shaka Hislop with his first stint at West Ham because I was living in Loughton at the time, and that's where a lot of the players lived.
Yeah.
And I used to work in Safeways. Safeways.
Yeah.
And he would come and do his shopping I think it's like Friday, and Friday night, and you would see him because his head was above all this. He was so tall, and he was like the nicest guy there. We chatted when we interviewed him, or reminded him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Loughton." Didn't obviously remember. My till services weren't obviously my packing services were subpar probably. We used to have them all. We had him. We had Samasi Abu.
Oh wow! Yeah,
brilliant. Practice my GCSE French with him, and he did to me like, right. We'll put Shaka in. Right, love Shaka. Okay, right. Are we playing what formation? 4-4-2.
Classic 4-4-2.
Classic. Left. Let's go left.
4-4-2 with probably a few players slightly out of position, but whatever.
Your teammate do it. Who's going to be left back?
Exactly. Well, Julian Dix is left back, quite obviously.
Yeah, sure.
So I was a left back when I used to play for school, and then as I played Sunday football and kids football and whatever. So always my position, and this guy I just used to love him. Used to watch him, and all right, there were moments when you thought, what the fuck are you doing? But most of the time he was solid, and I think he was underrated as a defender. I think the perception of him was he's a clogger and he's going to kick you up in the air, but actually as a defender, he was very good. And then to add to that, going forward, I mean not only could he hammer it in from 30 yards, but I think he had like a range of passing again that people just don't really remember. I think also like when he came back the second time and the knees were gone and you could see he was really struggling. He kind of I think he slotted back into I may be wrong, but it feels like I seem to remember it as a back three, but again, he was that versatile of a player that he could kind of adapt his game. And he was just fucking hard as nuts, wasn't he? As well, he
was brilliant. I thought he and I'll always have him a special place because he scored the first goal I saw of West Ham. So and it was a 35-yarder, top corner, top bins, and absolutely phenomenal player. And you're right. I think outside of Upton Park, he was perceived as that sort of slugger, sort of yob. But he was so much more of a player. Never got the England recognition, but then he's played for West Ham, so
well, I've actually written that down. Like I remember there was a game which must have been in his second spell. When he was called, he was getting close to an England call, and I just remember the game that there was the rumor that Hoddle was going to be at Upton Park that day. I just remember everyone willing him to have a good game, and I don't think he had the best of games, but he should have been playing for England, shouldn't he? I mean, it's at the time we were crying out for left backs, weren't we? And we didn't have a decent left back after Pierce, really.
No, it was that sort of era, and it happens very often with West Ham players that they turn up like if it was like 2 years either side, they'd have probably got in the England team, but he was like, yeah, because he had like Piercy still around. You had Lasso, didn't you? Neville.
Yeah.
They were like clean cut. You know, there was a story going around because he shaved his hair.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It was like, now look at them. Look at all players now. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's like shaving your head's the least of your worries. But yeah, he was absolute genius. And
I think two of my favourite memories of him are actually games that I wasn't even at. So the first one was Everton away when he went in goal, which was brilliant. You know, and he was just flying him around, which was really good. And then the penalty against Man U, with Schmeichel. Yeah, I was actually back at university that I think I was on a football weekend or something, and we watched it in the pub. And I think I was probably the only West Ham fan in the pub, and I just went up like when he hammered that in. It was brilliant. Just those penalties. I've shown my son some of them. Like it's just absolutely unstoppable. And I think you look at some of the keepers, and they didn't want to stop them. They didn't want to get in the way of them. Just to have that much power was incredible.
But no one does it anymore, do they, Mark? No one just pelts it. Do you know what I mean? They're just all, lucky they don't because Lookman scored. You know what I mean? No one just like, it's like there's something about, you said when Julian put the ball down, you knew where it was going. It was going at the back of the net. And if the keeper got it, it'd be in the back of the net with him. So, I just think he's the best story I've heard about Julian was when we interviewed Mad Dog. Mad Dog, and I asked him what his favourite West Ham game was, and he went, "Is West Ham versus Wimbledon," and I'm like, "Okay," and he was like, "We had a 22." It's like, why? We had a 22-man pile up in the middle of the game, and then it all stopped. All went quiet, and then the ref gave the ball, and then Dennis Wise got the ball for Wimbledon, and then Julian kicked him about 12 foot up in the air and just walked off the pitch with his hand in the air, like, "Yeah, that's me done." And he said that is my favourite memory of West Ham. I was like, okay, fair enough, but that was him, wasn't it? I saw it like in the early days. There was a few like naughty challenges, and I thought, unfortunately, that reputation then went with him, didn't it? So still,
my first job in football journalism was at Teletext. So I'm old enough to have worked in Teletext, and we had the best job at the time. We were a very small kind of desk. They called us an extras desk or a features desk, and we could basically just try and speak to as many different sports personalities and sports people as we want. And it was around the time that his testimonial was being organised. Julian's testimonial was, so I got in touch with his agent, and she said, "Yeah, Julian, I'll pass the message on, and I'll ring back and give you a time when Julian's going to ring. So, or you can ring Julian." So, okay, fine. So I sat at my desk having lunch, and my phone rang, and expecting it to be the agent or obviously someone else. And he's like, "Is that Mark?" "Yeah." He said, "Oh, it's Julian Dix here." And I spat my lunch out. Like, fucking hell. The couple of my colleagues who are with me just said I went bright red. I mean, I'm literally talking to my hero, and he was great. And probably terrible interview because I'm thinking of questions to ask him and whatever. But yeah, he was a really, really nice bloke.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll put Mr. Dix in. Let's go right back then. Who's your favourite right back then, Mark?
Well, right back is Steve Potts.
Oh, this is going to be a great 11.
So I reckon his best position was probably centre back, but I couldn't think of a better right back, to be honest. Again, I think it's a weird one. West Ham haven't really had that many great right backs over the years.
No.
So Pottsy gets in at right back. So reasons for Potts. He was short, I was short, and he played centre back, and I moved from left back to centre back in my mirror career on Parks football on the marshes and the flats and whatever. And he was just Mr. Dependable.
Yeah.
He was there every week in, week out, and it was probably very rarely a 10 out of 10 performance, but it was always probably an 8 out of 10 performance. And he was just there and would do the stuff that needed to be done. So I used to, I thought he was great. And I haven't quite got a T-shirt, but I was there the day he scored the goal. So
we did a thing. I think it was 2 weeks ago. We did like a Steve Potts appreciation night where we had like Martin, who does the announcing at West Ham. We had he's a film editor, and so he put together like a clips thing of Potsy. It's really good fun. It's a great. We had it was probably we was only going to have half an hour, but Marty went through his whole bloody career, and then it was like an hour and a half. And we had Sam Delaney on, bless him, and no, it was good fun. And we had a couple of Steve's mates from school. Sent through some old pictures of him at school, and it was just funny of him like when he played fly half, year 3 at Dagenham school, and it was good, great fun. But yeah, we had the goal. We kept on replaying it.
Such a terrible. The following week, one goal. It's such a terrible goal.
But he almost scored like just before, and so we went through that, and then obviously last week we had John Hartson, and it was just all goals. So it's completely different. But yeah, that is great fun. I love Steve Potts, and obviously
I think there was a bit of there's a bit of mysticism about him because he was born in America, wasn't he? So you always saw that it was Hartford, Connecticut. I remember it even now. It's like, wow, we've got an American playing for us. It's it's like something exotic or something.
Exactly. If only if he was a foot tall, half a foot taller.
Yeah.
That's the trouble with him. But I agree. When he played centre back, he was that was his position, wasn't it? It was just he read the game so well.
dropping off and getting a second ball and things. He was very good.
That's his thing. Right. Okay. We'll put Potsy in. Centre half. First centre half.
First centre half is Rio.
Rio Ferdinand. Yep.
Just I was too young to see Bobby Moore, but you listen to my dad and you talk to other people and you talk about how Bobby Moore had that calmness about him and how he would bring the ball out of the back and make the tackles at the right time. And I'm not saying Rio was is good, but for our generation, that was something that we hadn't seen. You think of all the centre backs we had, they were quite hard and just get the ball clear and whatever. You very rarely see a centre back strolling out the back and banging a pass 20 yards to the right or whatever. So, and he was 17 or 18 when he broke. He was just so young, up against these centre forwards who were bashing him all over the place. I thought he was just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
We saw him we went to Highfield Road as well. I think he played right midfield that day or right back. He was that versatile. We saw him. I think it was one of his only goals. I think he scored 2 for West Ham, and that was definitely one of them. So such a good player. And we always knew he was probably too good for us. Yeah. But it's still sad when he left. And he's great. Greatly added the career that he did. But he was very good for us.
Quality, wasn't it? And as you said, he just sort of you just knew. It's like sometimes you get players who are kids who break into the team, and you think, he's all right. Yeah. It might be because we've had a few injuries, but he came in. He's like, this guy is good. Yeah. It's like we haven't had anyone like him since I can remember. He was just brilliant. But
different, just totally different as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally different from what we've had before. Yeah. And in my lifetime, God bless people like like Gailey and Alvin and people. They're different to Rio. Rio was this ball playing, very continental style centre back, really. And it's like this is the future. It's like I remember when they famously, was it 96, they famously tried to put Jamie Redknapp into sort of a sweeper. It's like it would never work. But he was like, this guy's gonna be good, and obviously he had a phenomenal career. And I feel proud when you talk about Rio. More so than others. I think, I don't know why. I feel really proud of Rio's career, and more so than obviously a Lampard's junior or something like that. It's weird, isn't it? But
I think you left on good terms. It's also how you leave and what you say after you leave and how you hold yourself and when you come back to the club and those sort of things. And he was spot on, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a top dude. Right, okay, I'll put Rio in. Who's he going to partner?
Alvin.
There we go.
So one ball playing kind of centre back and one who's a bit more just get it out. So I saw Alvin probably at the end of his career. I think he played till he was 37 or 38. I was looking it up earlier. So we probably saw him for the last 3 or 4 years of his career. But again, another one who just got the job done. And even as he was getting older, he seemed to adapt his game.
Yeah.
And he'd been playing. He was in the 1982 World Cup squad, I think. And 16, 17 years later, he's still playing for us. One club-ish man, I think he was. I don't think he went anywhere else.
I don't think so, no.
So it was So just in that late stage of his career, he just seemed to have a calmness about him and bring some calmness to the back four that he was playing at the time. So yeah, and the fact that that moment last season with his son at Chelsea was just brilliant. And so it's so good to see that, and to see that love for the club was was amazing.
It was, wasn't it? Because it was like on 2 levels, wasn't it? Well, 3 levels. It was like his love of his son, his son's the fact that his son managed his dream of playing in the Premier League, and both of them being West Ham. It was like it was lovely.
Yeah, and beating Chelsea.
Yeah, and beating Chelsea, and just a little sort of like cherry on the cake. But yeah. Alvin played for Orient as well. I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Someone he played 17 league games for in Orient one season. Okay, all right, move on. Okay, so we'll put 4 at the back. There we go.
Yep.
Let's go. Actually, he just and funny enough, not name dropping. He just texts me. He just texts me. How is that? How bizarre.
Funny. We're not going out live, are we?
No. Yeah. See, look, I promise you. Look, see, Alvin Martin.
Very good.
Yeah, just that's well freaky. Yeah. Oh, it's all right too. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go into midfield. Let's go for left wing. Let's go left wing, left midfield.
Okay. Left is Payet.
Yes.
Who? So yeah, as I said at the start, mostly players in that sort of late 80s, 90s, but I couldn't leave him out because he was the best player I saw at West Ham for 20 years. I first saw him. We went to the first season that we got through in the Europa League. We were still at Upton Park. It was last season at Upton Park, and the Astra Giurgiu game, where in the first leg, and I think that was his debut. It was certainly the first time I'd seen him, and you could immediately tell because all he wanted to do was have the ball.
Yeah.
Every time someone had the ball, you would look, and he would be there asking for the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. And you could and then he would ping it somewhere or do something with it, and you could immediately tell that he was good and a class above what we'd had previously. And he was just there's so many great moments, so many free kicks, and it's just so sad how it ended. And you think if he wouldn't have got injured in that first season, is it January, wasn't it? I think he was out for two months or whatever in that last season at Upton Park, and it ended brilliantly. But that period, we ended 7th, I think, that season.
Yeah,
that could have been more because it was the season Leicester won the league, and the big teams weren't that great that year.
No.
We could have pushed for 4th, I reckon. If he would have stayed fit, we could have done something really special that season. It's just such a shame. And then this sort of first season at Stratford, his heart wasn't in it, but there were still moments. I think it was the season before, it was the cup game at Old Trafford I went to.
Yeah.
And I was we were right behind the goal and he put that free kick in, and that was brilliant. Just a great player. Probably right time for us, probably right time for him in his career as well. Maybe needed to he used us as much as we used him, just to get his name back up again and get into the France squad and whatever. But yeah, such a good player.
Oh, he's a phenomenal player, wasn't he? He was just phenomenal. As you said, he was like. But then what I liked, obviously, he was injured he was out for those sort of period at those games, and then his first game back, I think he came off the bench, and the first thing he did was like a pirouette on the ball, and it's like didn't miss a beat. I was like, oh, and it's right. We wouldn't have had that amazing season if it wasn't for him, and it could have been even more. But that's being a West Ham fan. It's always sliding door moments, isn't it? It's always we could have done that if he wasn't this. We could have done that, and if we'd won our first couple of games in '85, we would have won the league. It's sort of like that's what I'm about being a West Ham fan. It's always, but that's great. It means it's something to talk about, isn't it? What ifs?
Absolutely.
Absolutely phenomenal. Right. Okay, let's go other wing. Let's go right wing, right midfield then.
Okay, so I'm not totally convinced he was a right winger, but I've put him there. But and this one is purely based on 2 games. So this is Stuart Slater.
Oh yes, Stuart Slater. See you later.
So the most obvious game was the cup quarter final in '91. So I was in sixth form at the time. I remember that day. You know, I think it was a Monday night game. I think it was Sky or whoever moved it to a Monday night, and that's probably in my top 3 West Ham games ever. The atmosphere was just incredible that night. It was just, you know, we were crammed in. We were used to stand on the South Bank. I assume we were there, but they may have moved us to the North. I don't know, but I just remember it just being just a cracking atmosphere that night. And he just had the game of his life, didn't he? He was unstoppable that night. So that was that game. And there was a game which it was 19. I looked it up earlier. At 1989, we beat Sunderland 5-0.
Yes.
Slater and Dolan, I think, scored the goals. And there's if you look it up, there's a great goal that he scored where I think there's a Dolan flick on and he just volleyed it in.
Yeah.
We went to that game. I remember going to that game with my dad and my older brother, and it was one of those games where we bought the video afterwards. You know, like you used to buy the full 90-minute video, and we just had it, and we just you know, you sort of see, you know, you watch it every now and then, and that was just an incredible night as well. So for those 2 games, he gets into my team.
Yeah,
and he could do 10,000 kick-ups.
Yes, yeah. and it was brilliant. When we spoke to him, he's incredibly shy man.
Yes.
He's incredibly shy, but he was such a lovely guy. We went on. I think he was living. He had really crap Wi-Fi as well. It was really funny. But he kept telling his mum to get off the computer. Get off the computer, Mum. And we spoke about West Ham, and we spoke about joining West Ham, and he basically said from the age of, like, I think it was the age of 13, it could have been 12. Onwards until he sort of signed properly for West Ham, he had Ray Stewart turning up to every youth game that he played.
Oh, really?
And I was like, fuck it. He's like, yeah, can you imagine me, this kid? Like, I was a kid, and you've got like West Ham, starter. He was like, Ray Stewart was like there every game, and it was like
just to scout him, or
just to chat to him after the game and stuff like that. And it was something that Lyle did quite a lot, was get the older players to sort of mentor the kids coming through, and I thought it was incredible. Just, can you imagine that now? It's like, you're at Hackney Marshes, and I don't know, Vladimir Kufal. Yes. Like, no idea what's going on, bless him. Suaku, bless him, turns up and tries to impart his knowledge. But no, it's he's incredible player, and a lovely bloke as well. And by his own admission, he said, Pete, he said, everyone was like, we spoke about moving to Celtic, and he was like, at the time it was like, Brady was there, and
that's right,
Liam Brady, for those of you who are younger, not Dave Brady, and he was my idol. He was my idol, and so he wanted me there. So I was like, I was gonna go. In hindsight, I could have probably stayed at West Ham, and I'd have probably had a better career. But it was like my idol wanted me. He was like, and I was just like, it was like, in those terms, you go, fair enough. In it, it's like, but it's a shame that we didn't have him for longer. But
Brady was close to getting into my team, actually.
Was he?
Just what I mean, he was probably too old by the time he got to us, but just what an amazing player he was. It's a love watching him.
Yeah, fantastic player. And I think Brady's one of the guys who tends to get sort of left out in the wash when you talk about great sort of British-based players. It's always, particularly West Ham as well, but in general terms, it's Trevor Brooking, or it's, I don't know, Keegan and stuff. And Brady's always like, fifth or sixth maybe. He was doing it at in Italy, and he's like phenomenal. Right, okay, let's go centre midfield. Then who's your first midfielder?
2 centre midfielders, chalk and cheese. So first off, Martin Allen.
Yes.
Funny enough, I've got written down the game against Wimbledon.
Oh, how funny!
So that cup run that season, I think I may have got the 2, because we got to the semi-final in the League Cup 2 years running. I think one was the Oldham one, and one was the terrible Luton one as well.
Yeah.
But there was the Wimbledon game where it was absolute carnage. And he scored a really good goal. And then there was we played Derby as well, and I think he was really good in that game. But that might be just me, my memory playing tricks for me. But he was another one who was get his foot stuck in, but also had, he was a decent player. He could pass the ball as well. He scored goals from midfield, which is what you always want. So yeah, he was, and I met him in later life. I worked at ITV for a bit, and he did our podcast for us. And he was just nuts.
He's nuts.
He's
absolutely crazy. We had him on the first lockdown, and he was mental. And he had, bless him, he turned up, and I think he had the golf on because he was kept doing this. Or maybe he's put his camera there. I don't know. But and then he was like, right, okay, Russ. I want you to ask me a question before we started. Ask me a question about what I've been up to. Ask me a question of what I've been up to. Hi, Martin. What have you been up to? Well, I've been doing a bit of gardening. And he lifted his hands, and they were literally covered in dirt. He had like a nice jumper on, and he must have gone into the garden and just gone like that in the dirt. Because, I've done a bit of gardening, and then he was eating all the time. And it's only at the end he was eating like a Bono dog biscuit.
What?
Like, he's such a mad dog. He's like, I'm a mad dog, innit? I'm a mad dog. I was like, okay, Martin, bless him. But no, he's top lovely guy. And also, he used to, which was made me laugh. His carpool buddy, was Kevin Keane. Him and Kevin Keane every day would go round the M25 to Chadwell Heath, and then I interviewed Kevin like a few days after. Kevin, how did you cope with Martin? I don't know. It's like, I think he says we're really good friends, but we're just completely chalk and cheese. But no, he's I love him. He's a lovely guy.
Bit like Julian Dix as well, in the sense that maybe the reputation went before him, and actually,
I think with Martin, I think he adds to it. Do you know what I mean?
I think he likes it. Plays on it.
Julian is such a quiet man off the pitch. He's not, and I think he plays to it a bit. I think he's like Mad Dog's like in his head. I think he's just turned. But no, he was a good player, really good player as well as a crazy man. Right? Okay, we'll put Mad Dog in. Who's Mad Dog and the partner? Who's
Joe Cole.
Nice, nice.
So very much like Rio, Joe Cole, you feel like he's one of our own, and you saw him grow up, and I was there the day that he signed his forms, and on the pitch, and the announcer said, "Tell your grandchildren you were there the day." All that sort of, and that hype that was around him.
He played Chelsea that day, I think. Ironically,
I can't remember who it was, but
I think it was Chelsea, because it was like typical. It was like a typical gem. I mean, the announcer gem, he'd always end up in hindsight. It's when like hindsight is a great thing, but it was Chelsea, tell the guys, and they go, "All right, we'll tell him in a few years time."
But I mean, I once wrote an article. I was part of a writing collective once, and I once wrote about 5,000 words just on Joe Cole. I as a player, I just used to love him in that sort of that time he was at us, where he was unpredictable. You give him the ball, you weren't sure what he would do. But at the same time, he was work his nuts off, and he would track back, and he would tackle, and he would fight, and he was made captain at 19. He was such a great player. And I was actually having a chat with a mate the other day, and we were sort of saying that he got all the medals, so you can't knock that career, because his career was brilliant. He got all the medals, and he got the England caps and whatever. But you almost feel like he moved to Chelsea, and Mourinho just turned him into any wide midfielder, and you could replace him. If he came off the pitch, you'd replace him with another wide midfielder, and you wouldn't lose too much. Whereas the player he was at West Ham, you took him off, and you lost loads of creativity. And just the skill he had, just sort of twisting on the ball, and it's just incredible. I think the fact that he was skinny and little and whatever probably added to it, and the shirt was hanging out all the time, sort of all added to it. But I just love watching him play.
He had this sort of like I mean, he's doing a podcast with Tom Davis at the moment, which is quite good, and I think I ended the first episode. I don't know why I'm advertising it, because he have come on the show yet, but don't matter. Big Tom, and they might come on. Joe might come on. And he was talking about him as a footballer, and he basically admits he's always been a street footballer. And so it was like, even like and you can tell for me, as you said, that time it was West Ham was when he was more true to who Joe Cole was as a player.
Yeah.
But then
and
again,
that got sort of bashed out of him, didn't it? When
he
he
got
went,
bashed out of him. But then that position, nowadays you don't have that free role, do you?
No.
Everything's sort of like, so he would never in today he would have had to comply in some sort of role capacity.
Yeah,
so,
I see a little bit of that's a little bit in Grealish. I've been watching Grealish. You see a little bit of him, a bit more sort of free form and has license to roam a bit, but. Yeah, there's very few other players who used to do that. And then his second spell, he came back. It just wasn't really the same, was it? He just. But for what he was when the first time round, and he was part of that team that was ridiculously good, yet at the same time ridiculously rubbish, and got relegated. So.
I still can't figure out that. But yeah, it is the West Ham way. But
exactly,
no, I know what you mean, that Joe. Yeah, and I just think he's he talks so well on the analyst role. I just think he's got such a football brain.
Yeah,
you knew that he would have a good, but he speaks so highly. I'd love him back. So, as you imagine.
He comes across really well, actually, as a pundit. I didn't think he would, but he's actually pretty decent, actually. Yeah,
really good. So put Mr. Cole in, and he's got his protector with
exactly.
Allen. So that's good. Right, okay, up front. Who's your first one?
Di Canio.
Paulo.
I mean, probably Payet was the first player since Di Canio that I'd seen that could grab a game and just do things that other players couldn't do.
Yeah.
He was just we took a risk on him, but it paid off, and he had his moments, but just so many great memories. Again, there was a game at Coventry. We used to love going to Highfield Road. It was one of the best grounds to go to. But they used to give us down the side. They didn't give us the bit behind the goal. They used to give us seats down the side, like the away fans seats down the side at Coventry. And then we went to a game there, and Di Canio was just taking the piss out of their right back all game, like literally. And we were like 4 rows from the front, and you could see it, like standing on the ball, waiting for the player to come to him and just tricking him again. And that was just him in a nutshell, just a brilliant player and a good finisher as well. It wasn't just about the flicks and the tricks. He could finish. He wouldn't defend too much, would he? But he would often. I remember shouting him all the time to get back at least onto the halfway line, so he wouldn't be offside if we went forward again. And he would, sort of stroll back. But that's you accept that in a player like him because he had everything else. We went to the game at Old Trafford. The famous Barthez game.
Yeah.
And that was again. I think if the Everton game was in my top 3, this one's in the top 3 as well. And if you ever watched that game back, we got absolutely battered that day. I mean, I watched it back quite a few years ago. I was at the game and I'd never watched it, and I watched it back again, and we got absolutely battered. God knows how we didn't lose 6-0. And then and to do what he did, where you got the keeper just kind of putting his hand up and just sort of saying stop, and just to carry on and have the head to carry on, just brilliant.
Yeah. And what I liked about Di Canio, and although Payet's probably the best, I've said it loads of times, but it's true, he's the best technical player I think I've seen at West Ham. I think Di Canio was the best player because I just think you'd go to the game and you didn't know which Di Canio was going to turn up.
Yeah.
And that was exciting. That's just
the
like
show,
West
wasn't
Ham.
it? Yeah.
You don't know which West Ham's going to turn up. You know what Paolo did. Was he going to be the petuous little boy who hasn't got his Christmas toy, or was he going to be this majestic, mesmeric player? And sometimes it's a bit of both. And then you're lucky you get both. And then, but no, I thought he's brilliant. And so many stories, when you're interviewing people and they talk about when they've met Paolo, and some of them are hilarious. There's some great ones. We've had some really funny ones where someone's gone to interview him and he's been like half an hour late at Chadwell Heath, but it was in the shower and you could just hear him whistling his song in the shower. Stuff like that. And we had Nicky at Hawkins, West Ham Fan TV. They were doing like a fan, like a player meet evening. and Paolo turned up. He was the guest, and Nicky was, "Oh, Paolo, you're looking," because he obviously turns up like a million.
Yeah.
He does. He went, "Oh, Paolo, you're looking good, man." He just went, "I always dress up for my family." Mic drop. You could have just
Brilliant.
walked off, and there wouldn't be a dry eye in the house. But no, he's brilliant, and he just got the fans, didn't he? Just so he's, and I think you're right, because we took a chance on him. We resurrected his career, and he knows that.
Yeah,
he knows that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wasn't putting up trees at Sheffield United, at Sheffield Wednesday, was he? Really, he was good. Him and Carbone were good, but he became, when he went to West Ham, his time at West Ham, he became a great. He became a Premier League great, didn't he? So
probably one of the only footballers whose autobiography has a recipe for tiramisu at the back of it as well, which
well, there you go,
can't go wrong.
And with my new baking channel, it's
there you go.
That's it. The Canyo tiramisu. That's the next episode. Only with a slight hint of fascism, but that's okay. Right, just a tinge. Right, okay. Let's put Paolo in. And who's going to be the last place?
So the last one is Dean Ashton.
Yes, Dino.
So one of the things I've really enjoyed about today and doing some research was just watching the goals again and remembering things. And Dean Ashton, what a player! I mean, what a player, and what a player he would have been as well. Not could have been, he would have been. He was a proper centre forward. In so you look at Harry Kane maybe, and you think that was sort of Dean Ashton, because he was tall, so he was good in the air, but he's so much more than that.
Yes,
really good with really quick feet. He could link up play as well, and just scored some great goals. There was a great video on, I think it must have been the West Ham Twitter or whatever, where they had Dean Ashton showing his kids the goals he scored, and they were like, "Wow, Dad, you were actually quite good." So I for those few seasons, brilliant. He's in the 2006 Cup final as well. Absolutely brilliant. It's such a shame, and he tried to come back, didn't he? But you could see, even like warming up before a game, you could see like the amount of strapping he had on him and whatever. It just wasn't the same, and it was such a shame, because he was such a good player. We probably would have sold him in a couple of years, because he would have been that good. But
definitely he would have been at Man United, but with Rooney, but he would have been England strike partner with him as well. In terms of you look at the effect of someone like Harry Kane now on the England team. Dino was twice the player that Harry Kane was, because he had more in his locker than Harry Kane did. He was a complete striker, I think. He really was, and he was. And even now, it's a shame, because obviously even now on Twitter, on Instagram, when he's getting his, he's settling in to watch the Masters or something, he's got like his setup, like his sofa, and he's still got a cushion for his knee.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Like, he just saw it there. He's like, I think he put like a little note just in case, the ligaments join up or something. I was like, Jesus Christ, But no, he was a dude, isn't he? And I just think what I liked about him. He was when he was playing, he always thought, we've got a goal. We've got a goal coming, because he could turn and he could make something. And I got the same level of excitement of him that I did when we signed Bowen, because he's that young British Championship player, and he's going to be mustard. And and I remember him turning up in his long coat. I think he was playing Villa or something like that. It was like £7 or £8 million he paid for him as well. Like, absolute bargain. But no, I just thought he was a dude. And it's again, it was nice when he came back for Mark's testimonial. He did it just to prove his strength.
Exactly.
What could have been? And again, another what could have been. And him and Craig Bellamy together as a pairing. They only played like 2 or 3 games. They were bought. That was the new Cotty Mac event.
Exactly. Yeah.
That'd have been awesome. But Mark, man, it's been lovely. Been lovely chatting to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you
it's been good.
So much for your time. An hour has flown by without really blinking. I love these things, because like literally sit back and chat about West Ham for an hour, and the wife's watching I'm a Celeb, so that's all right. I'll catch up later. So I find out what Shane Ritchie's up to. But no, it's been lovely, mate. Thank you so much for your time.
Nice one.
And also thanks everyone for watching. If you're watching YouTube, give it a like, give it a share. If you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts and stuff, give it a share, give it a subscribe. And from myself and from Mark, take care, everyone. Stay safe, wash those hands, come on you irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much
Cheers,
love.
Russ. Thank you, mate.
Bye bye.